Hello and welcome back to the Minetrek.net game server. Currently working on the Enterprise E, as in Enterprise, or the old Enterprise, the Sovereign class. I've just completed up deck number 9, and I brought it up, and I've been kind of running around it, double checking stuff, fixing things. So far so good. There's been some revision stuff, obviously. This deck took a little bit longer to do than I had anticipated because it has part of the medical complex on it, and I had to completely redo the medical complex. And the reason for that was I didn't like the way it laid out, and I just couldn't get the old system, the old design to work with double walls, so I had to completely rebuild it. Also did some redesign work around the hangar deck here. Got a little bit of a pass-through now. Instead of having stairwells on both sides, I went ahead and just made stairwell on one side. You just kind of come through here, then you go down. The reason for it is space requirements, and I've reworked the stairwells going down all the way down to the bottom of the cargo deck where this particular stairwell actually ends. So it's one of the little things I had to work on. And then I had to do a little bit of redesign for, of course, the Jeffries tube setup here. We get up here to deck 8. I forgot to include this little ladder going down to deck going down, so I kind of messed up there. And as we get down here into this deck here, we got to go down a couple more decks here. You'll see that it just sort of, you see where I'm going with the rework here. It transitions over and then goes down here. Beforehand, this was a Jeffries tube going all the way across here. I'm going to convert these into emergency lockers. That way I could centralize this ladder without having to kind of go around it and do some funky stuff like I've done in the up there and some of the other things. But where I couldn't work around it, I decided just to go ahead and have it exit out the back of the corridor because reasons. Works out well that way. Let's go ahead and zip on up here to deck number 9 and take a quick look around. Took a little bit of effort, but yeah. I got the piston door figured out over here on the airlock, and I'll show you here. This is the old style. It's like I call it the C&B style. C&B Minecraft from like 8 years ago. Designed this piston door when pistons first came out. And the problem is a crossover, and of course the crossover in this case is actually on the roof of the deck below us, but there is no deck below us. So yeah, so this is going to remain open here for a little bit while I, consider the update. The newer system doesn't require this. It runs it all from up on top, which is actually a pretty ingenious, tight system to use. So that's probably what I'm going to go to, but I got to remember which ship I used that new system on. So, yeah. But we got ourselves a little EVA locker right here, and if we work our way forward, I'll go ahead and show you some of the design choices, design changes I've gone ahead and made, and hopefully we won't find too many mistakes, but there will be some. For the most part, I'm going to leave the hangar as is. A lot of work went into designing this hangar from a couple of former team members, and although Shadow and I will probably update it, revise it to make it less gothic, overall we're pretty pleased with the original design implementation of this hangar. It just, the guys did okay with it given the space they had to work with. And some changes that I've already made, things like that, you can see where those, well, you can see them right here where the lighting and stuff is. If I were to kill this light, these used to be observation windows, but when I redesigned the decks above us, I realized that I couldn't really do that because it required carpets, and we don't use carpets anymore for anything. So, well, we do, but not for what that would have required us to do. So I decided to go ahead and just close those off and make them permanent lighting fixtures as opposed to windows. Got our little Jeffries tube ladder right there. I did have a snafu when I went ahead and mirrored this deck. I forgot to add in this little area right here, so I had to go back and fix that. That was kind of a pain. Overall, I'm pretty happy with how this deck turned out. These are there's two large hollow suites right here and right here, And these are the systems for these hollow suites. There's one here, and there's another one on just forward of us here. Of course, got our little ODN rooms here to work on stuff and sensors and whatnot. Another little Jeffries tube going up, and this one here goes all the way up into this crawl space up here. Probably, yeah, I do have a ladder there, or a hatch right there. That crawl space is not really meant for people to be up in, because obviously it's right on the hall, and yeah, the hall. So along the hall here are these rooms right here that are too small to be crew quarters, because I decided I did not want to extend them up onto the hull. It would just get narrower and narrower and narrower, and I didn't like that. So what I did is I went ahead and converted them like we did with decks 9 and 10 on the Enterprise E, and on deck I think it's 35 and 36, or 36 and 37 on the Enterprise D as well. And just made them into offices or meditation rooms. There's a small lounge here, but that's what they'll be. They'll just be small little rooms, just, you know, to get by, that kind of a thing. And yeah, she looks pretty good there. All of the windows line up with a room below them now, at least the ones that I've worked on. So that is a good thing. There are no windows into bulkheads. Some of the windows did get repositioned slightly. Some got moved forward, some got moved back, some got moved to the side a little bit. But overall, the alignment is about 90% of where they were originally, which I'm pretty happy about. Got a big airlock right here on deck, I think it's on deck 8. That's a deck 8 airlock. So we'll come down here and drop onto the ship, and you can see this here is deck 10, and this is a main turbo lift route deck, along with a lot of escape pods. And I'm going to be adding in, like I did with the Enterprise D as in Delaware, a bunch of emergency lockers on this deck. I've already begun adding them to the decks above it. I think I've added like 20 or so far. But yeah, all this through here is going to get redesigned. A lot of these rooms will work as is, but I will probably end up redesigning them slightly so that they match up more currently with current design builds. Because you can see these rooms are a little small through here, but that's actually the size that they're supposed to be on this build, or on this particular ship design. But if you come up here, you can see these crew quarters are a lot nicer, and a lot of them are doubles and things like that. So I took a little bit extra time to make sure the crew quarters were a little bit bigger on deck 9. But deck 10 here is a major crew deck, so yeah, it's going to have a lot of crew quarters that are going to have to be updated. I like how they, you know, as you can see here, this pattern is, I call it the step pattern, because it's a curved area of the ship, and obviously Minecraft, you can't have curves, because Minecraft, they just look hideous, and you end up with like a whole bunch of like little pocket areas that you can't use. So I decided to forgo that, and that's how come we got this original honeycomb design right here. It works better because everything stays in a line, everything else, and I like to keep that as much as possible, but I also wanted to make the crew quarters a little bit bigger and a little bit more modern. So let's go ahead and first and foremost, let's step up here into the central crossover. There we go. And I'll show you what I've done here. And I rerouted the corridor. Used to go up there and used to come along the front of the ship, really close to right here. In fact, there was virtually no room left through here, and I needed more space to add the rest of this system here, the mustache or the eyeball system, the transporters. So, and I wanted to add a larger system to that because I did shortchange this area, and I felt bad about that, and I wanted to fix that. So that's what I did. Go ahead and re-solidify here. And you can still go ahead and come through here, a little narrow, but and use the stairwell to go down to this area down in here and into those right there. And if you have to, I mean, I don't imagine people using that very often, other than, you know, to fix things, instead of having to come back out here and go into a turbo lift and then drop down or use the Jeffries tube and so forth. But yeah, so I rerouted the corridor, and the rooms through here, as I mentioned before, are pretty narrow, pretty small rooms. You got a little window right here. So this would be like a little office or a little meditation area, the little area for the crew, and you know, kind of what Shadow Appler designed for the Enterprise D as in Delaware along her rim. Shadow did a pretty bang-up job with that ship. Now, I did look to include an arboretum, or atrium, or grotto, excuse me. Let's go ahead and go back to spectator mode. And I can't do it on this build because this build was not designed for it. Now, when I initially designed the Enterprise D deck layouts, I went ahead and went with the Sternbach plans as a base, and then I modified the Sternbach plans to include features from the Whitefire plans. That allowed me to first design the ship with the intent of removing a large section of it for the grotto. So I planned ahead when I did the design for the Enterprise D. And there are videos out there. I'm pretty sure I covered that whole concept and how I came about it. But on the Enterprise D, I was able to make the grotto at least double the size that it is on the Whitefire plans. And that gave Shadow Appler a huge area to work with. And he did. He worked with that. He also created the Zen Garden and the all of the Arboretum. No, he didn't design the Arboretum. He may have helped with the Arboretum, but I don't think he fully designed. I think he had actually did that with a couple of people. That's the room at the aft end just behind the hangar on the Enterprise D, if you're curious. He designed the Zen Gardens, the hydroponics bays, the offices along the rim, both decks 9 and 10, and he designed the grotto, and I think he helped in a bunch of other areas as well, some concept and things like that. So yeah, Shadow's been a big help, and he did that right after joining the server because the two guys that I really depended on were unavailable. So I put it up for anybody who wanted to build it, and Shadow stepped up and he nailed that grotto out of the park, and no two ways about it. He also did the same thing with the Zen Garden, which was an afterthought. I just wanted to fill the space on the D, so I thought, well, the Zen Garden would be a good place for this, and Shadow agreed, and he kicked it around for a while and decided, yeah, I think I know how to do that. And he did. He actually did a really nice job with the Zen Garden and stuff. So let's go ahead and go to the central core here and work our way down. Actually, I want to go back this way. Oh, well, before we do that, we'll go off a little tangent. As I mentioned before, this right here, this little grotto area, or tree area, arboretum area, Blue Phobes, when we were working on the first rough draft of the Enterprise D that we eventually scrapped the hull, and we wanted to have, because they were in the Whitefire plan, so Blue wanted us to have these little cutouts, and they were pretty cool. So we incorporated them with the new build. One of the former builders helped me with that as we set it up and designed it, and we found good locations for it from deck 5 through 12 on the Enterprise D. But on the Enterprise E here, this wasn't designed for it. The ship was built with a specific layout that didn't lend itself to being. It does not lend itself well to being heavily modified, i.e. adding a grotto or adding this atrium. But I did find a spot to add this atrium, and as we did that with the Enterprise D and we incorporated it into the Luminosity B when I helped Shadow lay out his deck plans, M decided, yeah, it'd be kind of cool if we could at some point add it back into the Enterprise E at a retrofit or a refit time. And I'd never had any intentions of actually refitting the Enterprise E here. In fact, I was actually abhorrent to the idea of it. But once I did the Fearless, and I realized that I could do the Enterprise E, but it would require a lot of changes. And since I was going to do those changes anyways, I might as well go ahead and see if I could put this little, Arboretum in, and here it is. We got it in, and I'm pretty happy that we got it in. I mean, it's several decks tall, I think 4 or 5 decks tall, and that works out well. Unfortunately, I could not do the grotto. It just simply, the ship does not lend itself to that large of a modification. And that's something that when we build the new Enterprise E, we'll have to definitely plan for. But on this build, couldn't do it. So on this, this build here is going to get renamed. I don't think it's going to be called the Enterprise E, but then again, you never know. Things happen, so, stuff could change. Don't know. Just find out as we go, kind of a thing. But as we go through here, again, I mentioned that I had to do some reworks, and I'm keeping much of the original design concept that the original design team that filled these rooms in came up with as much as possible. There'll be some changes like to the hangar, maybe update the impulse bay a little bit, that kind of a thing. You just modernize these things with new blocks and new build styles and that. So got ourselves a little EPS room there and a couple more in here for like working with the sensors and the transceivers and whatnots and stuff. We have, of course, the security station and a first aid station. On a ship this large, on this size of ship, on this deck, every deck will have at least one security and first aid station. Some decks will have multiples, and the reason for that is if the ship gets attacked or gets boarded or crew get cut off because of bulkhead issues, they all have access to that, to security, apparatus, phasers, defensive weapons, rebreathers, first aid, that kind of a thing. It just stands to reason that that's the way it would be done. And ironically enough, people are starting to adopt that idea, and that's a concept that I came up with for the Enterprise D build to fill. Oh, well, actually, I came up with it for this build originally, and to fill space, and it just made sense. So it's good to see that comments like I was playing the recent update for Star Trek Online, their new content with the Discovery stuff, and there's a scene where the new content that just recently dropped here, where you're aboard the ISS Discovery and you're supposed to meet up with a security agent, and there's a comment, or security officer, and there's a comment about she's on this deck's security station. And I felt, yeah, okay, so somebody's been watching our videos. Huh. Yeah, it's kind of neat. But yeah, as I walk through here, I'm checking for issues like things like this. I gotta fix all that stuff. It means I have to go all the way over to the starboard side as well and update that. This will be like a little lounge area. These are where tables will be at, like little groups of tables. This is not a very large lounge, very narrow, in fact. But that's the room and space we have to work with along the rim here. Got the cargo bay here. Got an older door style. I should update that. I'll kick that around, switch it over to this style here. But yeah, come through here. Everything seems to line up pretty decently. Of course, there's some areas where we're not going to be able to hide this. I mean, I could, but I would lose space by doing it, so I'm not going to worry about it. But this is a nice little cargo bay area. Kind of where I like how this looks. Actually, I really do like how this room came out. This update came out for these rooms here. Again, a little maintenance area here, and then of course here we should have I'm not sure if it's around here somewhere, but I thought I had a stairwell around here somewhere. I need to check a lot of the stairwells to make sure that they're aligned. You got another little, actually this here is part of the medical complex on this deck. This is like a dentist's office. That's my logic for it. You have a little waiting room here, a little reception desk, and you got a couple of little, like a little dentist office there, a little storage room, and a little dentist office, another little office, another little dentist office, and of course a little room here for the dentist to wash up in. But yeah, so this is not the main medical complex, but a part of it. There's a lot of medical stuff on this. This is a big ship, so obviously it's going to have, a large medical contingent, plus all the first aid stations on the deck and stuff like that. So there's a lot of medical personnel. We have a conference room right here. So work our way back. We'll see another big bathroom area this way here, and Jeffrey's tubes, and then right here is part of an area that I redesigned, which was giving me, I took about 4 days to rebuild this deck because I did want to change a bunch of stuff. Beforehand, this was all research labs for medical, and then there was like a whole bunch of bed spots over here, and I just didn't like the layout of that. I needed office space, and I figured if I have to redesign the deck below us, I can add more, emergency, I guess, injured personnel bedding and all that stuff down below. So I went ahead and redesigned this. This was one of the first areas I redesigned. This is a medical, like a, I don't know, area with medical lab. That's the best way to describe it. So you got 3 medical labs right through here, and then of course you have your like CAT scan machines right here and whatnot. So I decided to keep those where those are at, but I did reduced. There were 4 of them. Now there's only 2 because they're mirrored onto the other side, and I needed to move a bunch of stuff over there to match what I did on the deck above it. So, but we got a bunch of little offices in here. There's 3 offices, and there's a small one right there, and then these are just little storage lockers, or they can be something else. But yeah, then we come up through here along this main thoroughfare corridor, and we have like a main office for like an OR surgeon or chief medical officer or the deck's medical officer or whatnot. And then we get into the port side of the Deck 9 medical complex. Got a little room here for the nurses, a little bathroom right there. Come through here. This is an operating suite. This is a transport from the medical complex, which is down here. This whole area is all medical. I'm probably going to keep most of that the way it is. I will try and double wall as much of it, and of course update it to be the current, you know, the current look and feel that I'm going with for the way things are laid out and whatnot. But yeah, you can tell that's a lot of stuff down through here. A lot of stuff down through here. Yeah. Deck 10 is definitely a very large deck. I suspect it'll probably take me 2 weeks to do this whole deck, because I have to double wall everything, and I may have to take out a substantial amount of those crew quarters to do it in order to update everything. But I do have a template. As you can see, that's the template for this deck. I went ahead and mirrored it down from the deck above it, so it's part of deck 8, and then kind of incorporated part of deck 9 too as I went. So, but as we go through here, you can see these are operating suites. They have little stasis areas here to kill the germs in case somebody, you know, so nobody brings in germs into the operating area. Kind of a, you know, cleaning area, kind of a clean room area there. And then we have a, you know, a little observation, or I don't know, first aid station here. And then of course like a little medical complex for the deck, you know, just in case they need it, they have it. And then you come through here, you get a whole bunch more beds, pre-op, post-op beds and things like that. So this is the area. Beforehand it was really tight and compressed through here, and then a bunch of really small offices through the center, and I didn't like the way it felt, so I decided to go ahead and update that. I'm pretty glad I did. It took a little bit of time, but you know, I've got nothing but time, so I might, well, till I kick the bucket, and so I might as well just go ahead and spend it doing stuff I enjoy, and that's kind of what I enjoy doing, so I did. And we're back to the hangar here, and the central hub of the hangar is probably going to get, I don't know, I definitely want to rework it at some point, but overall, you know, it's not a bad design. It's just, you know, because it stairwells up and things like that. You know, just, I don't know. This whole area here is, I like it, but it's very gothic. You know, it just needs to be, you know, it's lacking detail. I mean, it has a lot of detail, but it's just lacking, you know, I don't know, I can't phrase it. It just needs something done. I don't know yet. We'll figure it out as we go. You know, we'll do it live, so to speak. But yeah, come through here, clean all this up, made all this nice roomy stuff like that, and that's pretty much it. It doesn't seem like much, but it is a lot of work to update these decks, and you know, I didn't anticipate doing so much changes. I just figured I'd just double wall some stuff, maybe update some things here and there, but overall I'm pretty happy that we are doing it, that I am doing it, and nobody helping me with it, so I'm doing this all pretty much by myself, which is fine because I designed the ship pretty much by myself as it was, and of course a lot of the fill-in stuff was done by other folks, and of course a lot of the design stuff you see, like these hollow rooms, were designed by, I think it was Mad Squirrel initially designed those, so I just copied them over here. But yeah, that's it. Anyways, I do appreciate you taking time to watch. Again, this is the Minetrek.net game server. If you'd hit that like button for me, I appreciate it. If not, don't worry about it. No big deal. I don't think it really actually helps, since, you know, YouTube's changed all of its algorithms and everything else. I don't think anything really matters anymore, but you never know. If you hit it for me, that'd be great. If not, don't worry about it. I will catch you in the next video. Y'all have a great day now, and thanks for watching. Bye-bye.